Hey y'all, welcome back to Colored Couch Conversations, a podcast where I have intimate conversations with women of color on my couch. Today I have a very special guest, and her and I will be discussing cooking, business, and Black women making history. I'm your host, Jazmyn W., and my guest today is an entrepreneur from New York City who oversees multiple food businesses. 5 years ago, she decided to take a leap of faith and left her 9-to-5 in hospitality to focus on her passion for food and hasn't looked back. I know that's right, okay? Give it up for the very popular and very beautiful August DeWint.
Hi.
Hey, August. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, you did. DeWint. Yeah.
DeWint. Okay, cool. A lot of times people are like, why don't you just learn how to say her name right before you start the podcast? I'm like, that's how you remember, you know?
Right. And it's a little tricky too, my last name. Before I got married, my last name was Major. So that was just very simple. It's a pretty cool last name, but
it is. Yeah, if you ever decide if you want to have kids, you should name them your maiden name because that's a very cute first name. Cool. Well, y'all, listen, you must follow her on Instagram at theirs.food.at.home. And on Instagram, you don't even have to put the periods. It'll still come up. So if you type in there's food at home, because I'll be going to her page to try to figure out what I'm going to cook next. You could also go to her website at there'sfoodathome.com. I love that name. How did you come up with that, August?
So I was trying to, when I first started doing my cooking channel and stuff during quarantine, first I had it cooking with Gus, and then I had August, Augie, Gus, and I'm like, I really didn't like those names, and I feel like the cooking with whatever your name is kind of generic, everybody does that. Yeah. So I'm like, let me think of something I could do. And also, when it comes to food and cooking, I'm trying to teach people it's not that difficult, and I'm not trying to be a pretentious, let me not say pretentious, but I'm not trying to be a 5-star chef on the internet. I'm trying to show you things that's easy accessible and things like that. And what I was just thinking of a phrase that brought you back to your childhood. I'm like, okay, there's food at home, because your mom will always say that, and you'd be like, there ain't nothing in here. I just want McDonald's. Come on.
Yeah.
And, my mom actually, she didn't say there's food at home too much. She actually would take me to McDonald's a lot, but when she did say it, it was oh my gosh, So I thought that was something relatable, people would be able to relate to it. So that's why I came up with the name.
That is totally how I felt when I saw your page. I said, yeah, it's also very Black too. It's there's food at home. That's something Black mama always said. And it's so true. And that's something I even tell my husband, we got food.
Yeah. You need to save some money sometimes.
Exactly.
When you go out to fast food, I feel like it used to be cheaper. And now you get a whole meal and you spend $20. I'm like, hold up.
Yes.
I could have got 3 packs of chicken.
But how did you teach yourself to cook? I read on your website that you grew up cooking with your grandpa, I think, but how did that come about, as an adult?
Well, I grew up cooking with my grandmother. My grandfather would be the one to try all my stuff. I used to be in the kitchen just making, I don't even know, just concoctions, and he would just always eat it. But I grew up as an adult, just watching my dad cook, just remembering stuff from my grandmother. If I have a question, I'll call her and ask her. And then also just reading a lot of recipes and also just watching a lot of cooking shows. You actually do learn a lot from that. And the cool thing about recipes is you can read a bunch, and there'll be 10 apple pie recipes, but you can learn to tweak it and make it your own. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much how I learned. I really am a nerd for cooking. So I'll just read recipes, or I'll see a vegetable and I'm like, oh, what can I make with that? So I'll start Googling the taste notes and things like that. So I kind of just taught myself in that way.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about the cooking because I have so many questions because I'm bad at it. But we always start the episode off with a quote of the day, and you know this quote because you chose it, and it's, "You can't be hesitant about who you are" by Viola Davis. What made you choose this quote? Why did you choose it?
So I really love Viola Davis, and her birthday is actually the same day as mine.
Oh.
So that's why I really like her too.
What's y'all sign?
Leo.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really like the quote because I feel like it explains like you just have to be confident in who you are, steadfast in who you are, like, or people can project things onto you if you're hesitant about who you are as a person. So that's why I really like that. We all lack confidence at some points, but then you really got to just pick yourself back up and just realize, like, I'm working hard and I'm the shit. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's why I really like that quote.
Okay, I love that you said that. And I have so many like young girls, if I go live on TikTok or live on Instagram or if they DM me, how do you have confidence? Like, and I tell them, girl, I didn't have confidence in middle school or in high school. You know what I mean? It comes with age. So when do you think you came into your own and really accepted that?
I would say, honestly, probably I would say about like 7 years ago. I feel like when I met my husband, to be honest, like, and I was already around 23 years old. I was starting to feel less worried about what people thought of me and stuff, and trying to just focus on who I am as an individual and learn who I was.
Yeah.
I feel like in the age of social media, it's hard to gain confidence and, like, if you grow up with it. I mean, we grew up with it, but it was just like MySpace, Skonex, like those kind of things. So
Yeah.
it wasn't really and like the beginnings of Facebook. So it wasn't really like how it is today, where you see just a whole bunch of beautiful women and you're like comparing yourself to them.
Yeah.
But I feel like to get confidence, you just have to, I don't know, you just have to just be at peace with who you are and as an individual, and realize that not when you realize that not everybody is struggling and
Yeah.
not everybody has confidence. It could be like the most beautiful woman to you, to whoever. You're continuing to learn,
Yeah.
because there's days that I struggle with confidence as well,
Yeah.
but you have to just keep going. You have to like force yourself to keep going and have words of affirmation, that you follow.
You really do. You have to force yourself. And I don't, that's one thing I don't think that, nobody tells you when you're like a teenage girl. Girl, you got to force yourself to remember, keep reminding yourself you the bomb.
Right.
So
Yeah. And kids can be mean, so it's hard.
it is hard, girl. It is.
Mm-hmm.
I love to ask my guests random questions because it helps us get to know you. Okay. So you quit your job to become an entrepreneur and dedicate your life to food and food as a business. That's dope. I completely admire that. What were you doing before you made that decision?
So before that, I actually worked in hospitality and in restaurants pretty much once I turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
My first job was at Hooters.
Girl, me too.
Really?
Well, not my first job, but when I turned 18, yes.
Yeah, so I worked at Hooters first as I was actually 17 when I first started working there. So I was a hostess first.
Yeah.
They had actually just opened it by my high school, and as a joke, I was like, let me just go there and apply. And in high school, I didn't look, I feel like anything as like a Hooters girl. Like, I had a short, like, Khalees haircut. Like, I was surprised they hired me. So I worked as a hostess first, and then I got promoted. Well, I left for a little bit, and then I got promoted to a Hooters girl.
Yeah.
So I was there for some years. I've worked at Magnolia Bakery. It's a really popular bakery
Yeah.
here in New York. I worked there at the Rockefeller Center location for some time. And I've just bounced around at different restaurants. I've worked at Junior's, which is like a big restaurant here, like famous for their cheesecake.
Yeah.
Um, I've worked at little small Italian restaurants, just you name it, bars, whatever. I was doing it. And right before I started John's Juice, which is one of my businesses, the first one we started with my husband, I was working at this 5-star hotel in downtown Brooklyn. It's called One Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working there as a overnight front desk agent. And I really actually liked it. It was just a struggle trying to keep that and run my business. And my business only runs on the weekends. It's at the most popular market in Brooklyn called Smorgasburg, and it's very busy and it's very demanding. So even though we're only open on Saturday and Sunday, it's like you're working throughout the week towards the weekend. So I just had to quit. It was like I couldn't do both. I used to like, and I was working overnight. So I used to get off of work, go to the market, sleep in the car for like 2 hours, and then go to the booth. And I was working it because it was the beginning. So I had to physically work as well.
Yes.
So I do believe that if you start a business like till it's successful, that you should stay at your 9 to 5. But if it allows, like, if it comes to a point where you have to choose between the two, I would say to choose your business.
Yes. 100%. I actually saw a quote the other day that said, even if your business is making like the third amount or 1/3 compared to your full-time corporate job or whatever, most people are happier just making a third of what they would have made in corporate America because they're working for themselves. Do you agree with that, or what would you say?
Well, to be honest, I never had imagined working for myself. That was something my husband always wanted for himself.
Yeah.
And he was always miserable in corporate. And like for me, I was fine just working like various jobs.
Yeah.
But then he really instilled in me like the power of working for yourself. So I fell in love with doing it. But to go back to your question, I do agree. It's very rewarding to work for yourself, to not have to answer to anyone but yourself. But it's also a lot of hard work. So I always tell people that, like, if you make this decision, it's very tough.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with working a corporate job, and if you're happy there and you're making a stable salary, because with a business, you don't know where you're feeding yourself,
Yes.
you're making your own money. So it could be a very bad week, a very bad month, a bad year. And it's like, that's on you. Nobody.
Yeah.
So it's just a tough decision, but I do think that a lot of people are happier working for themselves, especially if you came from a situation where you weren't happy in the corporate world at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody can't be entrepreneurs. I mean, physically, they just can't because we need people to work for our businesses as well. So, okay. That's great advice. Girl, I don't be one to really admit how my husband be really influencing me for the better, but he's like that as well. I mean,
It's a partnership.
it is. It's a partnership, so. Uh, well, what's your favorite and least favorite thing to cook, August? And I have to say, my mom helped me. My mom looked at your page and she was like, I want to know what her favorite and least favorite thing to cook is. So this is a question from my mom.
So I would say my least favorite thing to cook, and this will probably come as a shocker, but I would say like macaroni and cheese, because it actually is a lot of work. So like lazy, and I think it's so expensive. Like I'm such a cheap person, and like to buy all the cheese, like and my mac and cheese, like if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. So I buy a lot of cheeses and make it up, and it's just you gotta make the sauce, and it's just you gotta make it over the stove, put it in the pan, and then put it in the oven. It's like it's a lot of work to me. So that's probably my least favorite thing. And I'm like macaroni and cheese out. I make it so much because it's like one of my husband's favorite dishes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, but I would say that's probably like my least favorite. It's not
Dang.
really easy to me. It's easy for me to do,
Yeah.
but it is like one of my least favorite things. My favorite thing to make, I love making a rack of lamb. Like
A rack of lamb, girl, why?
like an herb crusted, cause I just love how it tastes. I feel like fancy when I'm making it. Like I'm a
Yeah.
master chef, cause I watch a lot of Master Chef and Hell's Kitchen, and going off on them about that rack of lamb. So I like doing it. I feel like I pretend like I'm on a show sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's like one of my favorite things to make, and it's a treat too since it's pretty expensive. So
Yeah.
I like really making that too.
Would you ever go on one of those shows?
I was actually thinking about it, like MasterChef, but I really don't think my skills are up there yet. Like, I don't know. I watch it and like it just seems so intense. And then I read like a lot of blogs from people who actually have been on this show.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's just a lot. So I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I would do it for fun. I wouldn't do it, I feel like, to expect to go all the way. But
Yeah.
it seems fun because then I watch it and some people on there, I'm like, I could do this.
Yes.
Oh, so maybe, I don't know. But Hell's Kitchen
Girl.
is for like professional chefs. Like they're really
Yeah.
chefs. Like I'm a home cook. So I would do like Master Chef or maybe like, some other show or something. I would consider it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I know. I watch MasterChef. I don't ever watch Hell's Kitchen, but yeah, I think you should do it. I think you should just do it because just to say that you did it, you know.
Right? Maybe. We'll see.
And I know, I just have a feeling that, and plus you have a large following and stuff. I know they would pick you to be on the show. I just know they would.
Probably.
You
Because
know.
they like that, like, drama. You got something going on.
Yeah.
I'd be really good as a team captain, though. When I watch the shows, I'm like, no, you got to do this. You gotta... Yeah, I would be a good team captain. I know that much.
Well, you are a Leo, girl. So yes, I believe.
Oh, some of my employees would tell you, like, I can get very, very bossy.
One thing about Black women, we're bossy, but we're still relatable. And anytime I've ever had a Black boss, like you understand why they're telling you everything that they're telling you. They might be bossy and like very meticulous, but you understand why.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I talked a little bit earlier about how, okay, I'm from the South, August. Okay. I'm from Texas. So I grew up watching my mom, my grandmother cook, my whole family cook. And I could cook a little bit. Like in college, I would cook for my husband and stuff. But once I got into corporate America, I didn't have time to cook and do comedy. I would work 9 hours, come home, drop my stuff, and then go to the comedy club and then come home at midnight. So my husband was ordering food for 4 years that we were together. And then the quarantine hit, girl, and I had to pick up a spatula. So my skills have improved quite a bit, but I wanted to know from you, what is like one tip that you can give me that's essential for cooking? It could be about anything, but just something that I should always remember when it comes to cooking that can help me out.
Okay. I mean, you might do this already.
Mm-hmm.
This is one thing that really helps me when it comes to the amount of time it takes me to cook. Because when I first started like really cooking and like trying to follow recipes, I would take forever. Like the recipe would say 30 minutes and I'm sitting there like for 2 hours recipe. So from what I would say is always make sure you have everything in place. There's like a French term for it. I know I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. It's like mise en place or something like
Yeah,
that.
in the US we just say mise en place.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, that like just make sure like whatever the ingredients is, if it says chop this, make sure you do all of that before you start cooking. So what I would do sometimes is like I would just have the ingredients and then it would be like, oh, put this in, and I'm trying to chop it before the
Yeah.
next. So I think that is like key because I do get a lot of comments from people and they're like, oh, but this takes me so long, and it's because you're not doing the back end work before you start cooking. I think that's a very important step. And also to have like, if you can afford it, like good knives and good
Yeah.
cookware. So I didn't always have good knives, and people always tell me like you need better knives, and I'm just like I'm not spending that much for a knife. But my husband got me like a good knife set, and it really changed my life. Like you can cook so much, you can cut things so much faster,
Yeah.
and it's safer as well. But yeah, I think and have a really good pot. Like you really need a good like that one skillet that you always use.
Do you have like a favorite skillet that has like a brand name or?
I do. So I just recently got this all clad weeknight pot, and I love that thing. Like it's my baby. Like I put whatever in it, and it's perfect.
That's really good advice. Okay, I will say that's solid because the chopping my stuff and preparing my stuff beforehand is something that I just recently started doing, like just over the past month.
Oh,
And it does help. But you know what? I try to get too bougie because I want to have those little saucers and have my little seasonings on the side. You know?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But, yeah. But if you do that, it helps so much.
It does.
And finish cooking faster. So I think that's like my number one advice for people all the time.
That's true. That's really good advice. I've started doing that. Okay, y'all. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about marriage and cooking. And if August's dishes played a part in sealing the deal when it came to her relationship. So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Hey y'all, welcome back to Colored Couch Conversations. I'm your host, Jazmyn W. And make sure you follow August on Instagram at There's Food at Home and on TikTok. She has like over 1 million followers. So you know her food is good, okay? Go ahead and follow her. And now we're going to be talking about cooking and relationships. So I wanted to ask August this because men go on and on about how important it is to find a partner that can cook, right? And I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons that you believe your husband fell in love with you through his stomach.
I do actually believe that is one of the reasons he fell in love with me. And like early on, we had kind of like rules set in place, like who does what.
Yeah.
And I would cook. And he really can't cook though. Like he can only cook ground beef.
What?
My rice, like he can just only cook that. You know, I was gonna do the cooking because I'm not gonna eat ground beef, but I think it really helped seal the deal. It was my cooking, like he just loved it. And when we first started dating, I was trying to be so extra, like I was spending so much money. It was his money though.
Yeah.
But I was spending so much money trying to make these fancy ass meals, and like honestly, it took me a while to learn. Like he's a simple guy, so he doesn't really care if it was super fancy or not. But he really appreciates my cooking. He loves it. He's the one who pushed me to even join TikTok. He was like, from like last year before quarantine, he was like, "Oh, you should join TikTok and just put your food on it." And I'm like, I don't want to go on that thing. Like, I was like, I don't want any more social media. Like, I'm done with social media.
Yeah.
Like, then I joined it during quarantine. I was like, wow, this is actually really fun. Like, it's a really fun platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that me cooking really sealed the deal. However, I do think like some guys, it doesn't matter. I feel like they say that, but they just be doing their own thing. Like, you know how men are. Like, for him, like, I never had like a real serious relationship. Maybe like I was really dating one person and they never even tasted my food. So
wow, missed out.
Scared to taste it. So
why would they be scared to taste it? Is it because you had
or cared to taste it? Like it was like he just didn't care. Like so.
Okay.
Whatever.
Fumbled the bag on that one.
That like New York girls can't cook. Like I be hearing that for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why, but whatever. But yeah, I think my cooking really sealed the deal.
Yeah.
I had to lock it up.
Well, that's actually pretty good to know. I think my husband's too, he's very simple. So that's one thing to keep in mind is you don't have to cook super fancy as long as it's good.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you about TikTok. Do you feel like your popularity on TikTok has gotten you closer to having your own cooking show?
I never imagine having my own cooking show. Like I honestly don't have a goal right now with where I want to take the platform. My goal right now is I just want to help people. Like I get so many college students and kids saying they tried stuff. I try to put on their easy stuff. I don't always put what I'm really cooking.
Yeah.
It might be a little intimidating, but I try to come up with really easy recipes and things to do. But maybe it'll bring me closer to something. I mean, Tabitha Brown, she's been on stuff. So I don't think she imagined where, how far this would go. So we'll see what the future holds. What I like about TikTok is still really in the early stages. And I mean, I'm still fairly new on the platform. I joined in March.
Yeah.
And now I have millions of followers. So I've never imagined this would happen. I mean, I don't know. We'll see where it takes me.
Girl, listen, I think it's going to take you to anywhere you want it to take you. So you got to think about where do I want this to take me, and that's exactly where it's going to take you.
Oh, I'm just trying to do one step at a time. It's a lot, and what's so different about TikTok is like people actually will follow you like quick on there.
Yes.
It was like I posted one video like 2 weeks ago and it just went crazy. I wasn't even imagining that. And then I just like in 2 days I got 2 million followers.
That's crazy.
What the? I was like just looking at my phone like, what is that? I thought it was a glitch at first because I got like 250K and then I like refreshed and it said 500,000 and I was like, what is happening? Like, and it was like in 10 minutes and I was like, this is bizarre. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was like, this is nuts.
That is crazy.
And it's still like the early stages. So I'm still kind of like trying to build my community on there.
Yeah.
I just recently found my voice.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier, I was trying to hide my accent at first. I wouldn't even show myself in the videos at all. So I just recently started doing that and trying to show like my personality and, little bits and pieces about myself. So we'll see where it takes me. So I'm just trying to still build that community now because I feel like people are really hung up on numbers.
Yeah.
But when you get an influx of people like that, it's like they're just following because of one video. They're not really like part of your community yet. So you still have to build that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I still think it's the beginning stages and we'll see where it takes me. I do like Tabitha Brown though. I feel like she's someone I would want to be kind of like because she's not really a chef. And I don't consider myself a chef. I'm just trying to give you like ideas, pointers, and make you feel comfortable in the kitchen. I'm not really trying to be Gordon Ramsay out here,
Yeah. But the difference though is I love Tabitha Brown. I follow her on like all the platforms, but she's a mama and it doesn't matter. It really, I don't actually really pay attention to what Tabitha's cooking at all because it's just that comfort of your mama talking to you.
Right, yes.
Advice. She's so sweet, but you're like a sister. So when a sister tell you something, you're not really in awe of what your sister is saying. You're really trying to learn from your sister. Like, okay, teach me then, So I think you're in a good spot. I think you should. And people also, they might be following you quick, but they've scrolled through your other videos and they're like, oh yeah, her food looks good. You know what I mean? They immediately connect to you. So
yeah, it's just really like amazing. Like people send me messages like, thank you so much, this saved me. Like I'm like, whoa, really? Like I'm just happy they're trusting me enough,
Oh, that's dope. Okay. Well, let's move on to some trending topics. The first one is Zendaya made history last night because she was the youngest person to win an Emmy as a female lead in a drama. I know this is a really hard question. It is, I already know, but what do you imagine yourself being the first to do? And I also wanted to emphasize, it doesn't matter if you know that you don't have to know if there's a first person that already did this, But what do you imagine like you being the first person to do if it was like one of your wildest dreams?
You know what I want to do? Okay, I got the answer.
Okay.
I want to be like one of the first Black women to have her own like traveling kind of like cooking show, like where you ever watch Taste the Nation with Padma? It's a new show. It's on Hulu. Padma, I forgot her last name.
No, but I love Padma.
Yes, she has this new show on Hulu. You should check it out. It's pretty good. But I want to do something like that. Like I love traveling for food. Like, and that's what, my channel, honestly, it became cooking because of quarantines, because I have nothing going on right now.
Yeah.
But once things start really getting back into swing, like people are going to start seeing me like actually eat food outside. Like, I love traveling for food. Like my husband and I went to Thailand for our honeymoon and like.
So did we.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, what parts did you go to?
We went to Phuket.
Okay, we went to Phuket and to Bangkok.
Oh.
For like two weeks or 2.5 weeks. Yeah, I loved it. But yeah, so we went to Thailand, and I just love the food there. We've been to Tokyo. We've been to Mexico City and to like other parts of Mexico. And I just love traveling for food. Like that's my main thing. Like when I travel, it's like I have to eat great food.
Yes,
So
me
I would
too.
love to have like that kind of show. Actually, and this was actually one of my YouTube ideas. I want to start doing a series called There's Food at Home, where I go to different people's homes and we cook like a traditional dish. So, but like because of COVID, it's been like kind of hard like to go to
Yeah.
someone's house. But that is like so. I said it here, so if anyone steal it, they know it was me. But that's that. So yeah, that I think that would be like my goals to have like my own show, showcasing more of like other people's cooking than
Yeah.
mine per se.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? I know you said you want to showcase other people's cooking too, but I would love to see you go out and travel and eat other people's food and then like maybe come and back and make your own version or see how you can like do something an easy version at home.
Yeah, I would love to. That's a good idea too. Shoot,
Yeah, I love that.
maybe you're gonna be the producer.
Oh, girl, listen. Call on me if you need that, okay? Okay, y'all, we're going to take a quick break again. It'll be the last one, but when we come back, we're going to talking about August's businesses and restaurants during COVID and how that's going, and then also staying motivated. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Colored Couch Conversations, y'all. It's Jazmyn and August here, and we're still on trending topics. So, restaurants have been working really hard to stay open during COVID. This is a really hard time for restaurants in an already very difficult business. So, how have your businesses been doing during COVID? And, I just like to hear a little bit about that.
So my businesses, they're actually like outdoor businesses. They're like
Mm-hmm.
seasonal businesses. So we operate out of food markets, and we also do like all the major music festivals on the East Coast, and sometimes we do stuff in LA as well.
Mm-hmm.
But due to COVID, we've actually been closed this whole year,
Wow.
and we won't open until probably next year. Hopefully, festivals and things open back up again, which I think they should. Being that we're a mobile business, we don't have that overhead that a lot of restaurants here do. Um, and we actually are working on a third business, and we almost signed a lease right before COVID,
Wow.
because this was going to be an actual physical store. But thankfully, we didn't sign a lease because, we live in New York, so everything has been shut down from the jump. And so it has been a struggle. But like I said, we don't have the overhead, so it hasn't been that bad. We're not like hurting for money. We did
Mm-hmm.
win two grants. We got one from Facebook, and we got one from Bumble. So that actually helped a lot. And we were actually able to get all the government assistance that
Yeah.
they offered. So like the PPP loans.
Yeah.
Um, which was really tricky. It's like we had to watch a lot of like financial gurus to like really understand everything, but we were
Yeah.
able to get everything. But because a lot of like Black businesses and small businesses were shut out and weren't able to get the money, but we were able to get like a lot of.
Really?
Yeah, it's like they either filed too late for it or they really didn't understand the terms.
Yes.
So, but we were able to like work through that. But it's been hard. People call us. They're like, "Oh, are you guys open?" And we're like, "We're not open. We're not gonna be open until next year." And it's just sad because it was like, you're losing a lot of money. But
Yeah.
luckily, we don't have that overhead. We only have like storage that we still have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't been that bad. We have been getting contacted for caterings, but they haven't been super large orders where we feel like we wanted to put our workers at risk of working the events.
Right.
So right now we're just laying low until next April is usually when our season starts.
Mm.
So we're just gonna come out strong next year, and that's it. But luckily, that's why I started TikTok as well, because I
Yeah.
literally had nothing to do. Because I
Yeah.
work for myself, so it's like I'm just sitting at home all day.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta do something to keep me
Yeah.
occupied. So it's rough right now. We do know a lot of other like fellow food entrepreneurs who had to close their restaurants and their shops because they just couldn't afford the rent anymore. And the rent here is really expensive in New York. So
Yeah.
there's no like real rent relief from the government. So
Yeah.
it's a tough time. It's a tough time, but we're getting through it.
Now, one thing I'm starting to see in LA, I don't know if it's the same in New York, but it probably is that the restaurants it's turned into like a Miami Beach situation, South Beach. Yes, so they're putting all the tables and stuff outside, and people are not hesitant to go out to dinner. Like the streets are packed. I'm like, I don't know, I don't understand what the difference is. But since you have outdoor businesses, like the juice company and then the Fluffies, right?
Yes. It's like Japanese souffle pancakes. I'm not the cook for that. We have a pastry chef. It was just like our idea together. So yeah.
Yes. I've never had those. They look so good. But have you guys thought of any way to sort of bring it outside? Or is that something that you would consider to just only serve outside or?
We do only serve outside. So the thing is, our main market is called Smorgasburg, and it operates out of East River State Park and also Prospect Park. And it's like they have to have permission from the city to do
Yeah.
what they do. And let me just give a background about Smorgasburg. On the Saturday location in Williamsburg, they get like over 20 to 30,000 people throughout the day. And it's a kind of a small lot, so
Yes.
it gets super packed. So because of that, the city didn't allow them to fully open this year because
Yeah.
it's just like in the same category as concerts. So it
Okay.
would be too many people, like the outdoor restaurants, it's just, a certain amount of tables and it's like constantly rotating. But at Smorgasburg, it's not like that. It's like you can come and you can stay the whole day. There's benches and stuff you can sit on, enjoy like
Okay.
the waterfront. So they actually did try their hardest to come up with a solution. So their solution was it was just gonna be like, okay, Smorgasburg usually has about like 50 to 100 vendors on any given weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So their solution was to cut down to scale. So it would be like 10 vendors, and you would operate Monday through Sunday, so every day of the week. And it was just like it wasn't gonna work for us and what our product is. So
Yeah.
there's like juices in the pineapple and watermelon and things, and they were gonna make it also to go only. So it was like you can order, you could come pick it up, but you had to take it out. And part of the Smorgasburg experience is making it a day trip and staying there. So for
Yeah.
us, we opted not to participate in that, but they still do have it going on. And it also started later in the summer. So they started like mid-August. And for us, like our like, to have juice, people like it like from like June to like August is our peak. So it's like we
Yes.
already missed so many months, so we were just like, we're not gonna do it. And it's
Yeah.
been actually pretty slow for them because that's not the regular model that they have.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's what we have to deal with because we're under them. It's
Yeah.
not like, we're our own entity. Like I don't have a food truck, so it's not like I can just be like, oh, I'm just gonna pull up outside. And then people
Yeah.
keep telling me to get a food truck, and I'm like, I don't think I understand how hard it is to get a food truck in New York. It's like getting the food truck part is not the hard part. It's getting the permits where
Yes.
you have to set up. And we have a business where we have to do high volume too to
Yes.
really make money because there's a lot of work in it.
Yeah.
So people see it, they're like, oh, it's expensive. Oh, that looks easy. It's really not. So we go through usually like hundreds of cases of pineapples and watermelons. Like
Yeah.
throughout a day. So it's like, for us, we need to do volume for it to make sense. So
Yes.
that's why we haven't done it this year either.
Wow. If y'all didn't learn something from this business lesson right here that August just gave y'all, I don't know what to tell y'all, okay?
So like some of the vendors, they still did smorgasbord, but that's because they have like burgers or like tacos and stuff, like things people can order and take to go. But ours
Yes.
is more like an experience. So it's like it just wasn't gonna work out for that.
Yes, yes, completely understood that. Wow. Well, listen, your business has been on pause. You're doing your thing on TikTok. What keeps you motivated? Especially you're a Black woman, right? We're seeing all the social injustice, the elections coming up, right? Your business is on pause. All of all of these things happen. What keeps you motivated? How do you keep going?
What keeps me motivated is just the future and just like the support I get from my friends, my family, and my husband. Um, but yeah, just like constantly going over my goals
Yes.
and what I want and what I'm doing everything for. That's what keeps me motivated. So that's about it. Like next year, I wanna own like a house or get a condo or something. So that's what's keeping me. I'm like, okay, hopefully we open up. And then also, this was a life lesson too. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So we have been doing like other things on the side that we've been working on right now. But that's what just keeps me motivated. It's just the future.
Yeah.
Honest, and you do need a support system. You need people like pushing you because some days it does get really hard, especially with all the social injustice going on. Like there was times like I was like, I don't feel like creating content and posting
Yes.
it. And then also I feel like as a creator, like you get a lot of pressure from people too that expect you to always speak out about stuff. I'm like, I'm a Black woman living in America. Like I don't always want to speak out about the things because I'm not the one who needs to. Like
Yeah.
I'm the one who needs to hear the information. So sometimes I feel like we always have that obligation and like it falls on us and I don't really want it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just to keep motivated, it's like you have to find just like the happiness in things. So
Yeah.
what I like to do, I like to read a lot. So I like to read a lot of young adult books and like kind of like sci-fi and
Yeah.
dystopian type of things. So like just to escape, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Are you reading something good right now?
Yeah, I'm reading this book. It's called well, it's a series. It's called the Scythe series.
Okay.
I'm on the second book. It's called Thunderhead, and it's just about like a future where the cloud, like it evolved to this thing called the Thunderhead, and it's what controls society now. And
Mm.
basically, it's crazy. It's so interesting. So basically, it's no death. Like you can't die. It's like we've beaten everything. So if you try to commit suicide, it's like you get taken to this revival place, and they just bring you back to life. And it's
What?
and yeah, and it's like no one's in poverty. There's no like religion anymore because the thing, whatever, the Thunderhead basically like eradicated all that because it solved poverty, it solved
Yeah.
issues, it got rid of government. But there's but because of the population, it needs to be controlled. So people still have to die. So it's like maybe like 13% of the population maybe needs to get killed each year by these people called scythes. It's really crazy.
Girl, I'm about to Google that.
Crazy. It's crazy. And they're supposed to be turning into a movie though.
That sounds like such a good series.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like only a certain chosen amount of people get to be these scythes. And I don't want to give it all away, but it's really
Yeah.
they don't call it killing though, they call it gleaning, something called gleaning. But it's like really wild. And like you could get immunity from it too, like for a year. It's like it's just this crazy wild thing. But it's like interesting, like learning that aspect, but also seeing how having no religion and all of that affects people like
Yeah.
mentally in the world that they live in. Really interesting.
Wow. That sounds like something I need to read. I like stuff like that. Well, August is so adorable, y'all. Okay. I love you, girl. Well, we're coming to the end of the episode, and at the end of the episode, we always give advice in what I call the Keep It Real corner. Okay. And the person actually DM'd me on Instagram. They said, I'm in my mid-30s. It was a woman too. And they said, I'm in my mid-30s and having a hard time finding the one. I do want to marry a black guy, is what she said. I had a typo here. She said, I do want to marry a black guy, but I'm tempted to start exploring my options. Any advice for me? So I wanted to know if you had any advice. What would be your advice for a friend, August?
So I always say this to people. I feel like you should try to start online dating. Only because that's how I met my husband, through OkCupid. And I know a lot of people who met people through online dating, and I feel like maybe sometimes they're more serious on there because they are looking for something, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like if she feels like she needs to go elsewhere to look for a man besides a black man, and I guess if that's what you want to do it. Mm-hmm. But she sounds hesitant, so I feel like I wouldn't advise her to do that. Like if your goal is to date a black man, I feel like you should stick with that, because you never know what kind of situation you're going to end up in.
Wow.
I mean, that's just my advice. I'm not saying you can't date your race, but I'm just saying, like,
you're saying because she doesn't seem enthusiastic about it.
I feel like you wouldn't have said that. You would have just said, oh, I'm 30 and I'm having trouble meeting someone. Like, what's your advice? Not like, I do want to marry a black man. But, you know, the thing with our men, I feel like, okay, we're such a small part of the population. You know, we get like the short end of the stick. So I feel like the dating pool is kind of small, and what you're getting always isn't the best. Like, I feel like I got really lucky with my husband, because I always hear from girls that they're just having like a hard time. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in our community. So I feel like that's what makes it hard to find someone.
Yeah.
But I feel like she should try online dating, or like, you know, that's, I think, a good place to like meet someone.
Yeah. You know, my question for her that I would have that, you know, we don't really get answered would be, are you sticking with black men or thinking about dating outside of your race because of, like, what's influencing you? Is it because of what other people might think? Are you only dating black men because you're afraid of what people might say if you dated somebody outside your race, what your family might say? Or what's impacting you there? Because I think there might be a little bit of the outside world affecting you.
Yeah, just by the way she asked the question. It seemed like even like she felt like you might judge her. You get what I'm saying? Like, just the way of the question. Yeah. So I do agree with what you just said. I think that's a pretty good question to ask her first.
You know, and I think if you're thinking about doing something because of what somebody else thinks, or you're hesitant to do something because of what somebody else thinks, just go back to what you want. If you want to start exploring dating people of different ethnicities, do it. But don't worry about what other people think. Just try dating other people, because you might find the one. You might be missing out. Because you say, you know, I do want to be with a black man. Girl, you don't have to convince me.
Right. Like, I don't care. I'm not dating them.
Yeah, girl. Like, you know.
You want to find someone for your life.
Exactly. So that's our advice. So I hope that helps. I think that's really good. August, how can people keep up with you? Okay, tell us what you're up to right now. Where do you want us to follow you, and how we can keep up with you?
Just follow me on TikTok. I feel like I probably post there the most. And also my YouTube, because I'm about to start really posting on there more often. I really don't know how to plug YouTube. Like, I'm still trying to learn it. But if you follow me on TikTok, my YouTube is connected. But
yes,
there's Food at Home. That's it. That's where to find me.
Awesome. Well, follow her on all the platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, because I'll be telling y'all to do the same with me, okay? And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on the platform you're listening on right now. And if you love the show, if you love Colored Couch Conversations, make sure to tell someone about the show, okay? Do not be selfish. You can follow us on Instagram at Colored Couch Conversations, and you can watch the show on my YouTube. That's comedian Jazmyn W on YouTube, spelled Jazmyn. Thanks to my dad. And thanks to August for being on the show. I really enjoyed you.
Oh, thank you. I really had a good time. This is probably my favorite podcast that I've done.
Yes.
So like just talking to a friend. I like
yeah, Thanks, August, and thank y'all for listening.